Okay, so this is class 12. We are discussing generally metaphysics at this point. Okay, we're not discussing Aristotle's book Metaphysics, but we're discussing the area of inquiry called metaphysics. Okay, and we could discuss a little bit about Aristotle as well, but you know, we're going to be reading Aristotle here pretty soon. The books we've read thus far, or the texts we've read, should be Euthyphro, Meno, and Phaedo. Okay? So in Phaedo, it discusses, you know, Socrates in that dialogue discusses the soul and the arguments for it. We're not going to discuss that today, but what I will say about that is I want you to get to know those arguments, those three arguments, pretty well, because that's going to be a semi-assessment for the department, philosophy department that is, as to how well we're all doing. Okay, so that will be on the final. Did you catch that? Okay, we're all good? Okay, cool. So you already know there's going to be a component on there on the arguments for the existence of the soul, Phaedo. We'll talk a little bit more about other stuff that might be on the final for sure. But for now, we're going to be talking about you know, metaphysics. The next book we'll read is not on metaphysics, but it is important to it, is the Nicomachean Ethics. I'd like you to start reading chapter 1 of the Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle. Okay. We'll discuss that book a little more as time goes on. Maybe a little today, maybe not. Maybe we'll just get in and get out. But we'll be bringing that. I want to mix all that in. So let's get into the metaphysics of it all. And we talked a lot about all sorts of stuff, so it's going to be kind of hodgepodge. One of the first questions I asked you when we just started talking about metaphysics is, what are you, right? And what type of thing are you? And you want to know what kind of thing you are, and that's going to be relevant to the Nicomachean Ethics, of course. But it's a metaphysical question. It talks about your nature, that whatness you are. Why are you this one thing and not something else? How are you different than a cow, than a chicken? How are you different than you were yesterday, but yet still the same as you were yesterday? Who in here watched the last lecture on video? I discussed this before all of you got here. Okay, none of you. Get to watching it, because I'm going to ask the question. It's very important. How do we ground sameness through change? How do we ground sameness through change? What makes something the same even though it goes through some changes? In the last lecture, we talked about identity statements, the 5 ises. A is B, meaning A has all the same properties that B has, and B has all the same properties that A has. And if there's a difference in properties, then they are not the same thing. Okay? But clearly, you don't have the same properties today as you did yesterday, do you? Some of us have more hair than yesterday. Some of us have less. Okay? Some of us are, more tan than we were yesterday. Some of us are less. But the real question is, are we the same person, even though there are some things that are different? And if so, what does it mean to be the same? We also talked last week about universals. What is a universal? And I wanted you to memorize it. A universal is a multiply exemplifiable abstract entity. Do you recall that? You do? Okay, good. A multiply exemplifiable abstract entity. A multiply exemplifiable abstract entity, what we're talking about is a thing that is not physical, and it could be in more than one place at a time. Would you say the number 2 is universal? Well, is 2 a physical thing? See, remember in metaphysics we have 3 options. If you are a naturalist, another word for physicalist, there are different levels of commitment to this. But the belief that everything that exists is physical, that the world, remember, here's a test question. When philosophers refer to the world, what do they mean? Everything that exists. They're not map makers. This isn't Atlas's map of the world, Earth. We're talking about everything that exists, not just the universe. You see, if it exists, it's part of the world. And if it doesn't exist, it isn't. So the question is, what types of things make up the world? Are they all physical? And if you believe that everything that exists is physical, then you would say, well, you're a naturalist or a physicalist. Some would, a philosophical physicalist. So if you hear me say naturalist, that's I'm making the use of it as a physicalist, okay? Not somebody who goes out and studies nature. But then there are the other people who believe that everything is ideas. Nothing is physical. It's all phenomena. And those guys are called what? Idealists. Yeah. And then you got realists. People are like, I believe both. There's both physical and non-physical aspects to reality. But then we ask the question, what does it mean for these things to exist at all? What does it mean to exist? Whether it be physical or non-physical. I told you, for something to exist means to exemplify one or more properties. And we talked about types of properties. Properties and relations and stuff like that. Color, shape, size, weight, right? These are all examples of properties. Relations, taller than, shorter than, beside, under, over, nice prepositions, right? Relations. Talked about essences and all that. So then we want to know, well, what does it mean to be me, right? Why are you different than other things, and why are you the same things yourself? Even though you are different than other things because you exemplify different properties, but then even day to day, some properties are exemplified that you're not exemplifying the day before. How are you not different? Or how are you the same? That's a real question. The old statement by Heraclitus, can't step the same river twice. Sure you can. Just can't step in the same water twice, right? It's this belief that, the river's identical to the water, to that water, not to the channel that, body that channels it. We discussed, did we just do the discussion? I know it's getting confusing because there are, because we're flip-flopping with classes. Did I discuss with you sameness through change the other day at all? That would have been last Tuesday?
I didn't write anything down about that.
No.
From Tuesday.
This question I talked about, I didn't tell you that, there's that whole thing where every 7 years, all of our cells are changed, right? Like, the same cells that I was born with are no longer part of this body here, right? Every cell in my body has died and has been replaced by other cells. That's why we eat, okay? We replenish cells that die, add some, I guess, as you get bigger. But yeah, every 7 years it has been said, not just by me and not just by one person, that all of our cells in our bodies will change. Well, what does that mean for my personal identity? Am I the same person as I was 7 years ago? I could illustrate this by a picture. I suppose the camera will pick it up, and if it doesn't, well, then I'll just explain it as we go. And for those who missed it, well, unless I don't have my marker, which I'm pretty sure I do because I saw it in here. I'm going to draw for you, if I can find that said marker. Mind frame. Good. Let's draw a ship here. A boat. Alright. Oops. That wasn't supposed to do that. There. Okay. Smoke coming off it, right? Okay. Put a window here and perhaps a window. You gotta look out, right? I'll just put a little pinker. I think it's getting worse as it goes along, so we'll just leave it at that. Okay, so it's a boat. It's made of wood, we'll call it, okay? And it's a happy looking boat, would you agree? And let's say I take this board off and I put that board right over here, okay? You see where I'm going with this. And then I replace that board with another board. Let's just put a stack of lumber over here. Okay? And this is all wood and parts, and then we have a pile of machinery over here, okay? Okay, for engine parts. And one by one, I take a board off over there, I put it over here, and I take a board and I replace it, put it over there, okay? I replace it. Make sense? Nothing weird about that yet? And as I do that, I take all those boards and I put them over here. Put them all together and I put the parts together, right? And as I do, another ship emerges. Or is it another ship, right? After all is said and done, all the parts have been replaced. Right? I want to know which one of these is the original ship. Pretend they look identical, you know. Except for this one has older parts because these are all new parts that it was replaced with. Okay? I mean, technically, I don't even know if they need to be identical. They could be different colors. They could, you know, after all my parts have been replaced, correct? And I don't look like a little baby anymore. As I look at my cute kids, I'm going, oh, you're so cute now, but your days are numbered, kids, right? It all goes away. Beauty is fleeting. Well, which one's the original ship?
The first one?
Which is the first one?
The one that you didn't change it.
took every board off this one, put it over here. And I took boards and engine parts from the two piles and put them together over here. And as I took them off here, I put them over here. It's like I'm some guy over here, I'm too broke, and you're the one putting all the, you got the shiny ship, new ship, and you're like, get rid of this old part. And I'm like, can I have it? And you're like, yeah, oh, okay, I don't care. And then as he gives me the new ship, pieces, the old pieces, I just start putting them together and I get a new boat, okay? And it's all the same parts that were once over there. Well, where's the original ship? Is it this one or this one? Why's nobody answering me? It's such an easy question. Right? Is it an easy question? It's a simple question, it's not an easy answer. I mean, you take one board off and is it a different ship?
Yes.
It is? So, where's your car parked?
What?
Do you have a car?
No.
Oh. Do you have a car? What kind of car you got?
I have a Jeep Wrangler.
That's an okay car. What kind of car you got? You don't know? How about you? You got a good car?
I got a Chrysler.
Chrysler. Might go with a Jeep. Still think it's
Chevy Cruze.
a what?
A Cruze.
A Cruise. I think I may go with the Jeep. I'm gonna borrow her car, but really what I'm gonna do, before she calls the police, I'm gonna take a part off of it. Because according to you, if I take a part off, it's a different vessel, right?
Yeah.
So she could say, that's my car, and I can go, no it isn't, yours had a fender. And you'll be like, yeah, must be a different car, right?
No.
So it's the same car,
Yeah, but
but you just said, no, it wasn't. Are you changing your mind on me?
no, I'm not changing my mind.
So it is a different car, so I can't take it, get away with theft, because really, once I change it, it's no longer her car, right? Her car had a fender on it, once I take that fender off, it's no longer the same car.
It's still in her car, but with some
So she has
changes.
two cars,
No,
one with a fender, one without?
No, it's just like the same one, but you change it, so it's not the
So it's
same.
still the same car,
Okay, yeah, could be.
so you change your mind,
No, I don't know.
okay.
Right now I'm confused.
What do you think?
I think it could be the same boat, just with different parts. Cause like if you get a guitar and you have to replace the parts, and you replace like the electronics and the whatever you call it, and
Wires
everything.
and the
And
knobs.
It's the same bass guitar, but it's different
Are you a
parts.
bass player?
No, I mean bass in like the same frame of the
No, you
guitar.
get rid of that too.
Oh, you do? Oh.
Piece by piece, every single piece, like I said, with a ship. Every part of that boat was taken away and replaced with another part. And then I took all those parts and I reassembled them off to the side.
Yeah, but it's not the same essence.
Oh, essence, now he's gonna break up, you were here the other day for that discussion, yeah, we talked about essences, right? The essence of shipness, I mean, could it come, I mean, then again, you can put them in a pile, would you say it's the same ship, or, because if you put it in a pile, is it a ship anymore?
No,
So its essence is something other than the parts?
yeah.
So there's some non-physical thing exists prior to its parts, and then it becomes instantiated or exemplified once those parts are put together?
Yep.
Wow, that's a genius. I could have said that better myself. I could have stole that from Aristotle better myself. Yeah, that's kind of like my answer, yeah. But we have the essence of shipness, but what about that shipness? And what about this human versus your baby human? I mean, how well did you grow that beard when you were, I don't know, 1?
Not very well.
Not very well? Yeah, 5 o'clock shadow as a little baby. Dad, I need a razor! Yeah, so I mean, you've got different properties about you. There are different things about you. Different cells. Are you still you? What does it mean to be you? What are you?
I don't know.
Why do I mention this? Well, because our first principles in philosophy will help dictate how we answer these questions. If you are a naturalist, you are not going to say essence. You will. But an atheist, naturalist, will not. Why do I say, well, naturalists are atheists in so much as they don't believe in non-physical things. They believe that if a God existed, God would be non-physical, therefore there's no God if everything's physical, right?
Right.
But a naturalist is gonna, what's a naturalist gonna say about the boat? The boat is identical to its parts. Once the parts change, the boat changes. It's not the same boat. Because it's not the same parts. It's identical to the parts, the physical things that make it up. It is not identical to the physical things that change. The changed thing, right? Does that make sense? What would that say about universals if you're a naturalist? Here, let me just ask you a quick question. Can physical things be in more than one place at a time?